Um, and then I'll stop Coach Cascio and have him answer your questions if I see it in the chat box. But uh, just first, kind of want to introduce PCA just so you know what we're doing. It's essentially just we've got kind of a group chat, first of all, about 150 coaches from about 40 countries, just kind of sharing the game, networking, sharing drills, plays, philosophies, concepts, podcasts, whatever it might be. I think I've shared quite a few of your just podcasts in there too, stuff that I enjoyed from SAVI. Um,
Thank you.
and then, yeah, we do some international clinics in Vietnam as well as some in-person clinics for the Vietnamese coaches here. But a big part of what we do is these online clinics. Every 4 to 6 weeks, we'll have a speaker. So, coaches that are on here today, we've got Mark Cascio. He's the director of coach development for SAVI coaching, which is something I have definitely learned a lot from just kind of following them. It's Coach Mark and Tyler Costin, just following them online and their journey with Savvy coaching. And also, he's won a state championship coaching high school basketball, been to several Final Fours, worked at Appalachian State Division One program. He's just got a wealth of knowledge. And one thing that from the podcasts and listening to the hours on Savvy, I've learned is he's just great at making everything he does effective and finding better ways to teach. So it's not just about the X's and O's, it's getting your players to actually be able to execute what you do and getting through to them and teaching. So I asked him today to kind of cover better teaching tools, give us some better ideas for running practice, maybe with a couple subcategories of, pace can mean different things, of maybe some examples of how to potentially get your guys or girls to go faster in practice. That was just one thing we might cover. But yeah, so just covering some better teaching tools for us to teach better in our practices and in our games. So without further ado, Coach Cassio, it's your show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I love doing this. This was like where
Oh no, I
my
don't hit fine.
where my
Well,
coaching journey like
now,
really took off as far
okay.
as coaching coaches and just helping coaches. So this is what I'm really passionate about. So thanks for having me. I hope I share some new things with you. And if nothing is new, at least I'm affirming all the great things that you're already doing. So like Matt said, I'm the director of coach development. So it's Savvy Basketball. We offer courses, community, and consulting. And what I have found is that most coaches will come for what? Like, hey, what offense are you running? What actions do you run? And the real value is sharing the how. So as Matt said, I want to really share like teaching tools that'll help you teach everything. We will dive into just some practice things, some point five basketball, some transition, and questions are great. In fact, would love to engage with y'all a little bit. So if you don't mind, I'd love to know if you just type into the chat where you're tuning in from. I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So if you just want to drop it in the chat, I'd love to just know where we have. I think Matt said we have a lot of countries being represented, which is really, really cool. Okay. Um, Diving in here. We're gonna go like 3x3 format. So we had Matthew and I talked about like these three categories, and then I'll share three different things on each. If you have questions, type it in. Feel free to, Matthew, as they come in, feel free to interrupt. Okay, so practicing better is something that I am just obsessed with. That is probably the my best skill as a coach, or something that I just spent the most time on and took the most pride in. And as I think of practice, I really think about being a shaper of the environment. Like, how do you want practice to feel for your players? We would categorize like red, yellow, green, and that could be a balance of volume and intensity, but also just like how hard we're going to coach them, what kind of confrontation we're going to have. Because I believe there are some days where they should really feel the standard. And then there's other days where your job is to get them reps, give them confidence. And I usually like to do that before our tougher games. So uh, we will come back to shaping the environment with constraints. It's something that I am have always done, whether I knew it or not, is using constraints to provide implicit learning, meaning the game is going to be the teacher. Just by participating in the game or drill at practice, you're going to get better. So we'll continue to tie that back into everything that we do. And I want to share this framework that we use, and it is prime, train, game. And I feel like training games is the most underutilized in my experience of working with coaches is how do we bridge the gap between a drill and a game? Let's do this. Type into the chat what percentage of your practice is a drill versus a game. So if it's like 50% drills, 50% games, go ahead and type that in the chat now as I continue to roll here. So, um, what is a prime? I always make the analogy or comparison to practice to the weight room. So we've probably all been in the weight room at some point, and let's say we're doing 3 exercises in the weight room. We would warm up by doing those 3 exercises just with lighter weight. So if we're going to squat today, I'm going to get the bar and I'm going to squat really light. And then I'm going to add a little bit more weight and I'm going to squat some medium. And then I'm actually going to get to the working reps. And that's where prime and train come in. So when we prime, we're really just encoding success in our players. I want them to feel the most important skill that we're going to work on today. So for point five, one thing that we have taught to get players to play off the catch is what we call a go step, or what would be a split step catch. So my prime might be them just spinning the ball to themselves, split step, and you go pick your finish. Um, this is going to allow us to warm up while using a ball. It's going to mentally and physically prepare our players for practice. And then we can always tie back into our prime through our training and games. So a training rep would be something where we give them a read, but we're not live yet. And we just call this using guided defense. So if we're using this go step, it's how we attack a closeout. I might flip the ball to Matt and tell the defense to close out long. In fact, we call them close offs. If there's one like defensive thing that we're going to cover here, that would be a big shift that really helped us defensively is we close shooters off the line. I found that only way you can truly affect the other team's field goal percentage from the 3-point line is to eliminate threes instead of try to contest threes. So I would say, all right, I'm going to throw the ball out to Matt. We're going to close him off the line. Matt, you have to go step. So we're going to remove the read and we're going to make him, we're going to give him the visual cue of when we would go step or attack a closeout. And then we would take that into a live setting, which would be a game. I'm seeing a lot of the chat come in. Some of us are, actually, it looks like most of us are over 50% games, which is great, or like right around there. Some of us are higher. I love to hear that. We try to get to games as fast as possible. That is going to be the best teacher. And if I could only play a drill and drills in practice, if I could only play games in practice, I would choose games 100% of the time. However, to make those better, we talk about shaping the environment, we add constraints. So I want to share a tool that we call a game sandwich. And you can use this for teaching offense, defense, skill development, whatever you want, but we call it a game sandwich where we're going to play a game, then do a drill and come back to a game. Typically, the drill in the middle is based off what we're seeing. So right now, I would guess even like Charles said 80% games. If I had to guess, I would say maybe we start with drills and work into games later. I would give you a challenge to everybody on here in your next practice, start with a game as soon as possible. If you're somebody that does dynamic and your players are ready to go, start with a game, and that's going to give purpose to your teaching. And here's what I mean by that is let's say we play, picture your favorite game or favorite way. If I just said, hey, you have to start with a game today at practice, how would you start? Let's say we're playing 5-on-5 in the full court, or you can choose whatever drill you want. Based off of what you're seeing, we would move to what we call a skinny. A skinny is a drill that we're going to do in a small space with few players for a short amount of time. So I have an example of a skinny here, and this is us teaching close offs or how we would want to close off. This is a skinny. Few players, short amount of time, small amount of space. So let's say we're playing 5-on-5 and we're closing out instead of closing off. And we're allowing offense to shoot threes, which we do not want. I might just stop and say, hey, let's go to a skinny and let's work our close offs. And this is going to give you a chance to teach based on what you saw. So it gives your coaching purpose. Instead of just going into practice and guessing, hey, what do we need to work on today? Have your team show you. So after we do this, we might go back to the same exact game, but I might add a constraint that if offense gets a catch and shoot three, the game's over. And we're going to talk about that. We call that KO game. But what you're going to do is you're just going to raise the stakes on whatever skill that we really honed in on with our skinny. So that'd be an example of a game sandwich where we go game based on what we see. We play a short drill and then we go back to the game. And I want to go back to this. So what I want to do is we're going to go 3x3, categories, 3 teaching points, and then I'm going to try to give you a framework for everything. Here's kind of a more zoomed in approach to how I would teach any skill or any concept or principle to my team. 4 steps. It's teach it, script it, read it, play it. So let's say there's a skill that we want to teach. Let's say it is the Barkley. Okay, a Barkley is dribbling into a post up. I don't know if anybody's familiar, but imagine a driver is driving. We lose our advantage, so we're going to turn that drive into a post up. I would just, like we would with anything, let's introduce it to our players, let's demonstrate it to them, and then we're going to script it. I might say, hey, let's play 1-on-1. Somebody's going to start on my shoulder. I'm going to drive, and you have to Barkley. That would be the script. I'm not giving them any read. I'm not giving them any options. Then I'm going to go to read it. I'm going to say, we're going to play 1-on-1, shoulder to shoulder. If offense, you create an advantage, score. If you don't create a big advantage, Barkley. So I'm giving them an either or there. And then we're going to play it. I might play a small sided game, 3-on-3, and say, if you score out of a Barkley, it's worth double the amount of points. But there's not going to be any, we might just set up and play neutral, 3-on-3, and we're just going to see what shows up. And let's say we go to play it, and what's going to happen the most amount of times is it's not going to show up in games. So when we go live, we can always go backwards. If we play 3-on-3 for 5 minutes and no one Barkleys, I might say, hey, stop. Let's do a skinny. I want everybody to work on their Barkley here. 90 seconds, get as many Barkley ins as you can, go. And then we go back to play it. So that'd be an example of like 4-step framework that I've had a lot of success with teaching, where you can incorporate a game sandwich. All right. Any questions on any of those things before we move on to 0.5 basketball?
I think you're good to keep going.
All right, let's keep rolling. Okay, so 0.5. We call advantage basketball dominoes. And I have found just clearly defining when we're in advantage and when we're not for players unlocks everything for them. So there's really 3 phases of offense. There's disadvantage, neutral, and advantage. We focus mostly when we talk about like 0.5, it's really, we talk about the difference between neutral and advantage. Neutral would mean no team has an advantage. It's 5-on-5. We're chest to chest. It's normal basketball where you would just like check it up in the backyard. But when we're at advantage, offense is over. So we're not focused on running any actions. We're not focused on any of our cutting rules. It's just drive, kick, share, and space until we get a shot that we're hunting. And our shot scale that we share at SAVI, we talk about 9s and 7s. 9s are a wide open layup. 7s are a wide open catch and shoot 3. Those are the 2 best shots in basketball. So we hunt 9s first and 7s second. And anytime we're in dominoes, we really should not shoot until we have one of those shots. Now, it doesn't always work that way, but that's the idea. And we call those 9s and 7s because in an empty gym, if we just went to the gym right now and we're going full speed, we're going to make 9 out of 10 of our wide open layups. There is no perfect 10. We see even pros miss dunks all the time. So we eliminate 10s. The best we can do is 9 out of 10. And then your best shooters, the players that you want shooting in the game, should be able to make 7 out of 10 in an empty gym. They're on the shooting machine, just getting fed balls. So we call those nines and sevens. So the whole goal of offense is to get in the dominoes and in with a 9 or a 7. So just that clarification for players of when we're neutral, we run an action to create advantage. When we're not neutral, meaning we have gained an advantage, we don't need to run offense anymore. So we play off the catch. Okay. That's the terminology we use. Now, I would say if I was going to develop players or I was going to do any kind of, when we go in and work with players, when we work skill, the number one thing I work on is playing off the catch, is being able to play point 0.5 when we're in dominoes. Okay. So when we're in an advantage situation, we call these catch reads. And I have found using the language of shoot it, drive it, or move it helps players kind of play like a quarterback in football of like these are their order of progression. When the ball is in the air, I want every single player think shoot it. And I'm going to speak in generalities here. You might have a player on your team that you do not want shooting the ball. Uh, let's just say everybody can shoot. I allowed all my players to shoot sevens, wide open, stationary, step in threes. I don't care how bad of a shooter you were. Typically, I found our better shooter shot more and our lesser shooter shot less. I was okay with that. You adjust as you see fit. So we always said shoot it, drive it, or move it, and we played in that order because we wanted to weaponize the catch. When I was growing up, I was taught to catch and play triple threat. But my coach would also say we're most open on the catch. And that was the difference between neutral and advantage. When we're neutral, catch and go triple threat, look for the next action. When we're at advantage, we play off the catch and play fast. So early, I would prioritize speed over read. What I have found is that most coaches will teach a skill, talk about point 0.5, and then when a player makes a wrong or incorrect or makes a misread, we jump in and try to fix it. I would prioritize just getting them to play fast, especially if you coach females. Most of the time, females will want to catch, hold, not make any mistakes, prioritize speed. Here's a game that we use to do this. So we call this blind close off. Okay. So I'm going to play, I'm going to have an extra ball. We have a defender here with, they're blind to the ball. So the defender is live when the ball comes over their head. And all we're prioritizing is the catch read. So defense is instructed to close off, try not to let them shoot, force a drive, and their job is done. And I don't care about what finish we use. I don't care if it's what footwork we use yet. All I'm trying to do is couple perception with action. Can they see the ball? Can they see the defender closing off and make their decision before the catch? So if you're taking notes, big takeaway here. If you want your team to play faster, it's read, close up, close out, or close off, depending on your terminology, before the catch. And that's why, some people call this point 0.5, some people call this 0 seconds. We've just now really adjusted to we read closeout before the catch, not on the catch. Okay. So would be an example of how I would just prioritize speed over read. And then if there's something that I didn't or I wanted to hone in on, some kind of footwork or some type of technique, I would always do that last. Okay. So what we're doing is we're prioritizing reads before technique. And if anything that you take away from this presentation, that's what I would tell you if you're taking any type of notes or you're going to take anything to practice, most coaches will start with technique. But if we start with technique, there's no context for the players to tie back to. So in this case, if I just started with a go step, a split step catch technique, they might not know when they're going to use that in the game. So it lacks value. They can't connect it to their experience. So I might start here with a game, and this is a training game, right? It's not completely live, but we're adding defense. So I would start here, and then if I wanted to add technique to make them faster at getting to the rim, then I'm going to stop and I could skinny a go step and teach them a go step. We come back and say, all right, let's play the same game, but if you drive, you have to start with a go step. Okay. So reads first, technique second. I'm not anti-technique. I just think technique shortens the path to mastery. So technique is kind of like the what takes you to the next level of things. It allows you to level up. But if you never know when to use the skill, it has little to no value in an actual game. Okay. All right. So here's the framework that I use to train what I would call dominoes and allow us to play point five. It would be big advantage, small advantage, neutral. So if we picture a half court setting where we've gotten two players on the ball, let's say a ball screen, that's one of the easiest ways to bring two defenders to the ball. We've got defense into coverage. Now we need to punish them for being in coverage. We've got a 4-on-3 somewhere else. That would be a big advantage. Or if we're in transition and we arrive on a 4-on-2, that is a big advantage situation where all we're doing, we just start hooping. We're going to drive, kick, share space, shoot it, drive it, move it until we get a 9 or a 7. A small advantage could be 5-on-5. Defense is back but not matched up, or we've got really good spacing. I would even say just being neutral in the half court, playing with great space is an advantage for the offense. Good offense usually beats good defense. But a small advantage could be I have cracked the shell, meaning I'm driving inside the arc and I'm shoulder to shoulder. Here's the number one pitfall that I have seen teams fall into in playing point five or dominoes. It's taking the first domino shot, which is typically small advantage. On our shot scale, we'd call that a 5. Like it's so. Somebody's on my shoulder. I'm getting bumped. My drive is getting widened. Probably your top 2 or 3 players can finish that consistently. So what we want to do is turn that small advantage into a big advantage. And that's going to be, we talk about shoot it, drive it, move it. When in dominoes, you want to move it the majority of the time. Most players will default to driving. So we get drive, kick, drive, kick, drive, kick. What we want the pattern to be is drive, kick, swing. We call this going 2 out. So 2 out of the paint. If I drive, I get a piece of the paint. I kick to Matt. That's the first pass out. That'd be 1 out. We want to go 2 out almost every time. I never want to say like absolutely or speak in absolutes or every single time, but that's the general rule of thumb. Okay. Matt, there's a question in the chat. Should I tackle that now?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Do you think it's ideal for? I would never prefer it. Sorry, just trying to read it here. I would never prefer any player when the defender is too close, as like in this video clip. Do you think it's ideal for youth? Maybe pro players? I think maybe too very close on the closeout or the closeout.
Yeah. So I would agree. I actually think so. The fastest way to improve your team is to improve your shot selection. And all right, here's another takeaway. If you take anything away from this, reads first, technique second. Next thing is the fastest way to get better at something is usually not to add to your game. So if we're going to add the ability to shoot a 3 for a player that's like a so-so shooter, that might take months. But if we eliminate the bad shots that they take, that could be like an overnight thing, right? It's like, hey, Mark, you are not hunting 7s right now. So any close off that you get, go step. That's going to give your player clarity. They can improve on that overnight. So we want to eliminate bad shots in our offense instantly better. So if you want to be better offensively, take better shots. I'm going to say, who was this? Kane, I believe. If you saw one that you didn't like, that's a 5. So if you felt like defense was too close, absolutely. I did not want to take any small advantage 3s. I wanted big advantage 3s only. In fact, here's what I would measure. I would start from a place of 50% of your shots being big advantage. And if you're not measuring shot selection, I think you're missing out on a really, really good opportunity. So again, they're called 9s and 7s for us. We wanted 50% of our shots to be 9s and 7s. Once you get that, just keep moving the goalpost back. So if you already achieve that, go to 60%. And then once you achieve that, go to 70%. So yes, I never want to take any small advantage. I would call those a 5. Semi-contested shots are a 5. We should have probably attacked those closeouts. It's just a misread, and that's why we train it. And I have found the best way to train it is in a one-on-one setting. And then to go through this framework, we would move into a big advantage setting where it's like 4-on-2 and give offense a really, really big advantage where it's going to be easier for them to find a 9 or a 7. Then go to 4-on-3. That would still be big advantage because offense is +1. And then this is where most coaches miss. They spend most of their time on neutral. They spend maybe some time on big advantage. And what I have found is most coaches miss the boat on small advantage. And that is maybe we're playing 4-on-4. I'm going to start with the ball at the 3-point line, and somebody's going to start on my shoulder, or I might go ball on back as a common one that you may have seen. And we're going to try to turn that small advantage into a big advantage by drawing two to the ball. So anytime we put the ball on the floor, we want a 9, a big advantage, or a wide open layup. The second best thing that can happen is we draw two defenders to the ball. So when we start in a small advantage situation, we're forcing help and rotation. So by putting defense at a disadvantage, we're going to force them to bring two to the ball, which gives us the opportunity to play big advantage basketball. So we would progress. We'd go big advantage. That's like your prime. It's going to be easy. They're going to find 9s and 7s, should on every possession. Then we'll go small advantage, and then we'll go neutral. When we're neutral, we should run an action to create an advantage. And that's the only goal of offense is like, how quickly can we get to an action that's going to put two defenders on the ball so we can punish them? So the sticky language that I use there is get defense into coverage and then punish them for being in coverage. So think ball screen. I'm going to get the defense into drop coverage, and then we're going to punish them for doing what they're supposed to do by playing off the catch and dominoes. Okay. Any questions on dominoes before we get in the transition here?
Think you're good to go?
All right, good. Okay, transition. We've made a conscious effort probably 10 years ago, 20, 15 years ago. I just made this decision that my teams were going to play really fast. And it came from a place of like when we play the best teams on our schedule, offense feels really hard. That's like I felt like we could defend okay. I felt like when we were open, we could score, like we were good enough to put the ball in the hoop. We just didn't have enough of those opportunities. So my goal was actually to create as little half court possessions as possible. And here's where I'm trying to go through like where coaches miss is not training the mindset first. It's very hard to just walk into your gym, even at the beginning of the season, and say, hey, we're going to play fast this year. And the only time you talk about playing fast is when you're in transition. I think we're missing a huge opportunity. So we really started to cast our vision and about playing fast in the off season, and everything we did was about playing fast. How quickly could we go from one drill to the next? How quickly could we go from the weight room to the gym? How quickly could we transition from a huddle to the court? And all of that is going to bleed over because if you don't change mindset, it's really tough to change behavior. Think if you're like going on a diet or you want to eat better, you got to really change it up here before your habits and your behaviors are going to change. So we would focus really on mindset before anything. And the way I would do this is install what I called the 4-second push. The ball has to cross half court in 4 seconds or less. And that's the only thing that I care about right now. What I wanted to do is I wanted to give my team the mindset of when we get the ball, we attack immediately. So I would not start with roles. Matt, you're the racker. Mark, you're going to be our lock and you're running the floor. I'm just going to start. I don't care what happens. We're just going to play fast and we're going to build that mindset. We're going to condition. And then a teaching tool that we use is what we call +1. Once we've accomplished that we are going to play fast and our teams convert really quickly, now I can +1 anything that I want. I can say, okay, now that we're playing fast, let's start to identify roles. So again, if you're taking notes, here's the order that I would install transition. 1 would be mindset. 2, I would clarify roles. We have played with two rackers, meaning 2 point guards. And our racker's job is not to get us in the offense. Our rackers get the first bite of the apple. If you're a racker, we want you racing the arcs, getting down the floor, cracking the shell, and playing with advantage. I
Just to
might
confirm,
plus
coach,
one.
you mean
Say again.
when you say racker, you're referring to point guard, right?
Yes, which traditionally been called a point guard. Yeah. And the difference is like point guards are like set up the offense, coach on the floor. I usually put my most dynamic playmaker as the racker. And I like playing with two. Um, when I say established roles, it's really what your job is. We played with two rackers, and I allowed the closest racker to inbound the ball. Everybody else was getting out. So I played with two roles, rackers and runners. If you were a racker, you were inbounding the ball or getting the outlet. The other three players, all your job was to do is bolt down the floor and race the arcs and win the race. Okay. So here's an example. If I was going to install transition of this kind of a drill, we would turn this into a game by adding defense. But here's what you're going to see. Let me see if I can pause it. Yeah. All right. I don't think I have controls to pause it. So this is how we start to teach all of our roles in transition. We call this long and short. The lines at the top of your screen are the short line. They're the racker. They're getting the outlet. The lines on the bottom of your screen are the long lines. There are runners. So they're always going to get the pitch ahead layup. Our racker turns into the inbounder, uh, which would be the other role that the racker fills. So this is every player filling every role. It's a great prime, right? Like so we talk about prime train game. This is a great prime. Let's just run, let's just reestablish how we inbound the ball, where we want to get our outlets, where we want to get our pitch aheads, right? So once we establish these roles, we start to define our three zones in transition. Our three zones, if you look on the left side of the screen, if we're going left to right, this is the dead zone. And we want to get the ball out of the dead zone, make or miss as quickly as possible. So on a miss, when we get a live ball rebound, we told our players to be their own outlet. Don't look for your racker first. You look to get the ball out of the dead zone with the dribble. We called it a breakout dribble as quickly as possible. Everybody else would bolt out of the dead zone into this middle zone of the floor that we called the speed zone. So once we're in the speed zone, we should start to fill our roles. We taught our players to go wide first and then deep. The reason why we go wide first is transition defense goes down the middle of the floor. So the wider we are, the more you're going to get the ball. Obviously, hunt space. So here's other sticky language you can use, whether you're in the half court or the full court. With the ball, we hunt nines or whatever you call a big advantage layup. Without the ball, we hunt space. So with the ball, we hunt nines. Without the ball, hunt space. Full court, half court, that'll unlock everything in your offense because spacing is everything. Okay. The last zone that you're going to see on the right side of the floor is what we call the read zone. So if I'm in the speed zone and I'm sprinting, I'm starting to read if I can get behind the defense. If I can get behind the defense, then I round my cut to the rim. We finish. If I can't, I hunt space. So with advantage, we cut to the rim. Without advantage, we hunt space. So I've got some these are just some examples here of us in made break. Made break's typically a little slower. So I want to give you made break examples of us filling our roles. You'll see our two rackers responsible for inbounding the ball. If you're not a racker, you're racing the arcs and you're bolting up the floor. We pitched ahead with advantage. Common question we get is, should we only pitch ahead with advantage? Should the ball get across half court as quickly as possible? Should our racker keep the ball? I would say that's based on personnel. And this is where you as a coach can be a little flexible here, where your philosophy stays the same every year, but how you get there can change. So like this team that you're watching, we were all kind of the same. I told my racker, half court is a tennis net. I want the ball going over half court in the air as much as possible. But if I had a really, really good racker, or there was a big spread between my racker and everybody else, then I might tell my racker, hey, you hang on to the ball. You get the first bite of the apple. You're trying to crack the shell being a 3 point line. with the dribble to set up your lesser skilled teammates. So establish roles. Then we go into our three zones. And then honestly, it's just about holding your team accountable with some constraints. So here's three games that I have used that have really helped us play faster. Number one would be KO game. And this is the knockout punch. So we might play, I like to play by twos and threes to 8 points. A game's usually going to last around 5 minutes, and you can't take a possession off. Okay. And in a short game, you don't have a blowout. So effort is always really good. There's not that lull of, hey, we're down 15, hang our heads. So twos and threes to 8. But the KO, the knockout punch, is if you score a 9 in 4 seconds or less, or 7 seconds or less, whatever number you want to put on it, that would be the knockout punch. Game is over. Okay. So we're going to incentivize anything that we want. You could use the KO game for any skill, for any concept that you want to teach. It could be if we get a 7 in transition, right? Okay. So that would be first KO game. Next game is until we start. I want to tie back to where I started is like, let's get the games first. Here's one that I found that's great for rebounding. It's great for transition. It's great for shot selection. And a lot of the coaches that I've shared this with have gotten a lot of results from it and have really loved it. Play 5-on-5. That's what players want to do. Start practice and say, all right, we're going to play 5-on-5 until we don't get the ball across half court in 4 seconds or less. Once that happens, I'm going to blow the whistle. We're on to the next game or drill. And then measure that. Okay. So measurement is magic. So quick story. There was a factory that was trying to increase productivity, and they were trying to play with all these variables. Can we move the tables? Can we move chairs? Can we have our workers stand instead of sit? And they started to play with the lighting. So they adjusted the lights to be really bright, and they measured productivity. Then they adjusted the lights to be low and measured productivity. Type into the chat, do you think the workers were more productive in higher light, brighter light, or lower light? Matthew says brighter. Maybe we agree, disagree. Brighter, Angelo. Thank you. Okay. Kind of a trick question. They were actually more productive in both brighter light and lower light. And here's why. They knew they were being measured, right? So anytime we know something's going to be measured, we're going to do it better. Where coaches fall into a trap is we'll start a game and we'll say, all right, guys, we're going to play 5-on-5. We got to take really good shots. We want to share the ball. Let's make sure we get the ball screen action that we've worked on. Defensively, let's make sure we guard the ball well. We've got to make sure we're in drop coverage on the ball screen. Let's block out. And then once we get that rebound, we got to make sure that we're racing and playing fast in transition. We've just told your players so many things that they can't focus on one thing. And that's the power of +1. So if we can only coach one thing, that's until we. Or a KO game emphasizes one thing. As coaches, we want to emphasize everything. So here's another example. We're going to play 5-on-5 until we take something below a 9 or a 7, until we take a so-so shot. So Kane, I hope I'm saying your name right, I asked about like, hey, the players were taking kind of like so-so threes. Agreed. That'd be a 5. So I might say, we're going to play 5-on-5 until somebody takes a 5, a so-so shot, and then we're done. So we're going to measure one thing. Automatically, your shot selection is going to be better in that 5-on-5 segment. Okay. All right. So last game is what we just called a racer. So we play 5-on-5 eraser. If let's say you have a dark team and a light team, if the dark team scores and the light team can grab the ball out of the net before it hits the ground, that score is erased. So team A shoots a 3, makes it. I grab the ball out of the net before it hits the ground. 0 points are awarded. If ball hits the ground, they get 3 points. We continue to play by twos and threes to 8. So really, when you're doing all of these things, let's say we identify, you know what, our rackers grab the ball of the net quickly, but man, our runners are kind of jogging up the floor. Uh, then we just go back and we start from the point of interruption. So instead of saying like, hey, let's play 5-on-5 and make sure we're transitioning quickly, I would just start with the end in mind. So we're going to start from a shot and play from there. So anytime we're trying to correct something in this, instead of just starting neutral, we might start from the closest point that we can get to what we're training. So, gosh, I think I have a little bit more, but I know I'm on time. So, Matt, where do we go? We want to go Q&A, or is there anything that I can maybe go deeper on or double down on?
First, any coaches you have any questions for Coach Mark? You can feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat if you do. Um, if not, I mean, Coach, I think that was fantastic. I just took, I've listened to you so many times before, and I still just took 3 pages of notes. So,
Well,
always
thank
great
you.
stuff. Um, yeah, I think we can just call that a day if nobody has any questions. But maybe first you could let all of these coaches know where they can hear more of your stuff, where they can find you.
Yeah, so we have a podcast called The Hours. You can find it on YouTube or anywhere you like to find your podcast. It comes out every week, and we do our best to just give away our most information. A lot of it is the what and the why of what we do. If you want to dive deeper into anything we've talked about, we have offensive courses, defensive courses, courses on the art of coaching, like teaching tools, where we offer courses, community, and consulting, where we have found the real value is in the community. So like Matt said, y'all have a group text or chat. Like, man, if you're in there, like invest in that, because when you combine the information with being able to talk to other coaches and share your ideas, that's where we have found the real transformation occurs. So that's what we're trying to do with SAVI basketball. Love that y'all are doing it with PCA. And was there a question that came in here?
Yeah, we'll give you a question before you go.
Okay.
You look to play fast. How many half court sets do you look to have, or play and flow in the half court? So I guess that
We
balance.
flow. Yeah, we flow. So really, we break down offense into three kind of categories here. It would be actions, triggers, and series. So install whatever your favorite actions are. We run something called Rose Series, which is a series of actions that we run when we pass the ball across the top, guard to guard. I have found like when we run conceptual offense, you're guiding behavior and not dictating behavior. Set play would be you run there, you screen here, you cut here, and then we get a shot. Sometimes that shot is like, it's a 5, right? Like, but I got the shot, right? So we want to run conceptual offense where we just guide behavior. When you pass here, you've got options A or B. I don't care which one you choose, you choose. Um, so that would be a menu of options and what would be categorized under what we call a series. So picture gosh, I'm trying to think of like like Princeton action or any type of offense that you might be familiar running. In Princeton, we could go into point, we could go into to chin, right? Like those are all actions that share a trigger. So we flowed through triggers. Triggers tell you what menu of actions you have. We put those actions into what we call a series. We've got a course on that on conceptual offense, but here's where I would recommend. I would start with transition and dominoes. Like start with your advantage game. Number one way you're going to create advantage is transition. Can you take advantage of advantage and then install your favorite action? What's the number one way you want to create an advantage when neutral and then build out your series from there?
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. Anybody else got any questions for Coach?
Yeah, podcast is called
Yeah.
The Hours. And we call it The Hours because this is where we can like really deep dive and spend more hours on the things that matter. So yeah, give us a listen, like it, share it, comment. We'd really appreciate it. It's one of the ways that we enjoy connecting with coaches. So